Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm your host, Chris Matthew. Tonight I want to welcome back to the show Wayne Steiger. He is a philosopher, researcher, the host of the Steiger Perspective, and Wayne Steiger on YouTube. Wayne, welcome back, and how are you today?
Thank you, Chris, for having me, and doing good. Very relaxed, I'll put it that way. How are you doing,
Good.
my friend? Haven't
I'm
seen you
actually
in a while.
pretty relaxed too, amidst the panic.
Oh,
We're in
yeah.
unprecedented times. Many of us have actually warned about this for years. Now everyone's panicking. But I believe now more than ever, our community, and we need to get everyone to come together, not just for survival and safety, but to spread knowledge and information. And most of all, I think people need hope right now, hope for what's going to come in our future. And Wayne, welcome back. Let's start. We were just talking before. I'd like to get your overall perspective on what you see unfolding. We spoke briefly about it before, but I agree with you. By the way, what's your take on this?
It's like we were talking, Chris. I think that there is something here. There's something substantial. Now, my perspective is from the financial point of view. That's my background. I served as a consultant for the Federal Reserve. Something's up. Something's up big time. The Fed today cut 100 basis points off prime. We're at basically zero now. On a Sunday, never, ever have seen, not even in the 87 financial collapse of Wall Street, they didn't do this. Thursday, they cut, previous to the was 50 basis points. And Friday, it was announced in the Wall Street Journal that the Federal Reserve had dumped nearly $1 trillion into the repo market, it's basically a liquidity market for banks. This is unprecedented. What I am seeing as a financial analyst, just looking at this, all the panic buttons are now punched. My big concern is that if this doesn't work, I think and I'll just be very candid, I think in many cases this was premature. I think this was pressured by the president on the chairman of the Fed. But if this doesn't work, we don't have anything left. Other than literally what you're going to see is basically giving people money. So I think there is something to this. Now, I think a lot of us who've been prepping for this, myself, I've been a prepper since the financial collapse of September of 2008. I saw the handwriting on the wall then. We've been expecting this. I don't think anyone expected it like this, but it's here. Reality is here. The United States is under martial law. I live in Colorado. Our governor just 1 hour ago put 5 counties under what they call self-quarantine. The National Guard is being activated. I fully expect the administration to clamp down on all domestic travel. And this is going to have a hell of a shock to our economic system. We're already seeing the disruptions in the supply chain management of food. What happens in this case when you have people who rush the stores, the way the supply chain logistics work is that you have a consistent flow and you have what they call a minor reserve. Those are the pallets that you would see in the back of your grocery stores that they fill in to keep the shelves full. Well, the run that started last week, and most Americans weren't hip to it, the ones that were trying to capitalize were the ones who started this by the rush on the toilet paper and then the cleaning supplies. And then it hit a fever pitch by Friday. Milk, eggs, meat, vegetables all began to be strained by the system. The system has gotten so strained now, the president is stepping in. You're going to see trucks being basically by military escort because they can't get enough trucks in there. Each store to keep full would require 6 to 8 trucks. there's thousands of stores around America now sitting empty. So it's going to take a little bit. So my take on this, I don't know if it's really the virus or if it's basically, I'll just be candid with you. This is biowarfare. Anyone can read the strategy of biowarfare. This is exactly what happens when biowarfare is initiated against a country.
I have to agree with you. Now, when it comes to what's really going on, it's impossible to tell right now. There's so much misinformation. There's so much disinformation, a lot of it intentional. The media is excuse me, but fucking worthless right now.
Yeah.
You're not going to get any real information from them. So let's open our conspiracy door for just a minute here. And I've there's so many theories that I've come across in just the past few days. My brain is going to explode, and there's no way to tell what's true or not. But this keeps coming across my feeds and my emails that it's a large cover. The QAnon conspiracy group are saying it's all a cover, that we're going in, we're making the mass arrest right now. We're taking down the cabal under the cover of the coronavirus. That, it's going to be a shutdown for a little while, but after we come out of this, everything's going to be great. We're going to have free energy. We're going to have all the things we've ever wanted, and it's going to be a brand new world. And so that's the first one I want to tackle. I want to get your thoughts on this. Now, I've never been a fan of the QAnon thing. I've always thought it was probably a big psyop. But there's some interesting tidbits of facts in some of the information that you're getting. So it's causing confusion, but it's also raising eyebrows for me. I'd like to get your take on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, if someone can see the rainbow at the end of this is great. I don't think it's going to be without pain, and that's something that I keep on missing in this. There's a lot of pain right now. In fact, we can take our cues from the doctor that is heading this whole pandemic up for the United States. He has been saying repeatedly, and you got to listen to what he's saying. He said, there will be much pain. There is going to be a lot of death, but we're going to get through this, as they always try to spin it. The point is that you have to listen. It's just like Secretary Munchin. If you've listened, go back in the last 3 days when he has spoken. He's given us cues on several things. Yesterday, he gave us the cue that they got this thing already worked out. He said they're already looking at a second, a third, a fourth, and a fifth injection from Congress. Okay. I can't, listen, if we come out of this and it's all going to be rosy, I don't see the royals, the bloodlines giving this up. I think personally that this has been their plan. And what we're seeing here is actually the slow motion train wreck. We're seeing the train literally leave the tracks.
That's the see, I had Max Egan on a couple of nights ago, and he made some wonderful points, and I agree. I agree a lot with what he said. I think it's all been planned a long time. We just didn't know the catalyst, and it looks like they chose this as the catalyst. I'd like to be wrong. I'd love for this to be something else, but it's just the gut feeling I've had. It's just the preparation we've been doing for years. This everything we've been talking about: the coming new world order, the coming one world government, paperless currency. I mean, they're talking about that paper spreads the coronavirus, so we can't have paper money anymore. That opens doors for all kinds of things. But you mentioned biowarfare. So when it comes to that, could this possibly be just a released, an intentional released bioweapon to start this as a catalyst?
Yes, two things, Chris. I don't think this is the big event. I think this is the prelim. This is the conditioning. Right now, they're studying what we're doing. They're studying how we're reacting. They're seeing how their systems are being tested. This is observation. I think the big event's coming this fall. And I've contended, it's on my YouTube channel. You can go back on the Steiger perspective. I've been telling people for the last year and a half, the debt has become so colossal, not only for the United States, but for the world itself, whether you're dealing with the IMF, that's an International Monetary Fund, the central banks around the world, the debt to equity ratio has been off the scales. They had to create something to begin this. And I contend, it's just my personal opinion, but there is a tsunami coming that many of us are not going to be prepared for.
Okay, so speaking of not being prepared, there's a lot of people that I personally know, and in fact, I talked to about 2 or 3 people today that have done zero preparedness, and they're not worried at all. They think it's all fake. Okay, they think it's all some kind of ruse by the media for election season or something. And I'm pleading with them, please at least just go get some supplies, because I have been stocking up for a couple of months. I knew this was coming, so I went to the store today just to see what they had left as a little experiment. Just go pick up some things for my cat, a few cat toys, keep him occupied. There's nothing there. There's nothing on the shelves. All canned goods, dry goods, cleaning supplies, all the necessities of life are gone. And there are so many people that are still not taking this seriously. And they're saying, oh, prepare for a couple of weeks of shutdown, but I think it's going to be much longer of a shutdown. What do you think about that?
Chris, you are spot on, my friend. These people are, and I'll just be candid with y'all. If you're under that illusion, it's a delusion. You don't understand supply chain economics. You don't understand how your food actually arrives at your grocery store, and that how you're used to walking in and seeing the dairy section of 5 different types of milks that you can have any of your choice. And now there's no milk at all. And the problem is the dairies that you weren't paying attention to 6 months ago began to file bankruptcy. And that began to have a reduction of the flow of milk and cheese products into the food distribution system. And now you have this interruption that has basically drained the system down to zero. The president said it today. He said, stop buying. That's what he said. They're going to, and if it continues, mark my word, he will be issuing executive orders that will make it illegal. In fact, if you go back and look at Bill Clinton's executive order, which I think is 9991, I think it's right in that area, it is already illegal. No American can have more than 3 days of food in their house, and the government has the right to step in and literally confiscate that.
Yes, exactly. I have a bunch of friends that are, paying good attention to this, and they gave a 2-week warning last week that everything would be shut down probably within 2 weeks. And I think that seems pretty accurate. I think we've got maybe another week or so to get anything, and then after that we may not be able to even leave our houses. They may have a National Guard deployed in most states. I've seen the convoys coming in already.
My wife went out, and she is a nurse, and we're going to give some people some very simple solutions to do so they can have some protection. But she passed our grocery store. Now, I put a video over on my R. Wayne Steiger YouTube channel yesterday. I live in an affluent area. Our stores are loaded, and they're well laid out. I mean, they put a lot of money into these stores. It was empty. She came by this afternoon by those stores because she is a chief medical officer of a nursing home. And boy, things are changing there, folks. But guess what? There were police in front of the grocery store. They're now rationing Kroger's, which is the King Super brand here in Denver, is now rationing food. They're reducing their hours. And now we have police, sheriff deputies at the front of the freaking store. And guess what they're going to be instituting? And everyone should have one of these. You need to go out, buy yourself one of these portable digital thermometers, because this is what you can use as a defense system of you're going to be around someone close, take their temperature. Folks, and it's a $2.99, maybe $4.99 product.
Now, you mentioned your wife works with a nursing home. What changes? What is it like there?
My wife is a brilliant woman. She started quarantining 2 weeks ago. She was ahead of the curve. We knew this was coming. But yeah, this pathogen, we know it's genetically modified. Go back 2 weeks ago and look at what the Chinese ambassador said. Yes, we been doing some genetic testing, but so is the United States. So we're dealing with a genetically altered organism here. We don't know what this thing will do. I have heard that they're finding that in the 20-somethings that think that they're immune to this thing is dropping a marker in them.
Okay. Now there's something that we have to address, and I've had guests on with on both sides of the coin here, and I have to say I haven't joined either side. I'm in the middle on this. I have people that saying that there's either different versions of the virus, or it's not really the one there's a Western version, and there's one they're releasing in countries that are killing people, and one of them is just like the flu. It's not that bad, and one of them is really virulent. And I've also heard so much as it's not real, it's fake. I'm not going that route. I think they have released something.
People are dying.
Yeah, I know people are definitely dying. That's 100% true. I'm just wondering, what's your take? Is there different versions going around? Is there a Western version? Because I've heard researchers say that here in the West, we got a different version that's not going to be killing people. Or I've also heard that it's genetic, that it targets different genetics, like it's been targeting Asian genetics. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it is a targeted pathogen. I really do. They're calling it the boomer remover, and it's very interesting. Although the deaths that we've had here in Colorado have been ranging from the age of 41 up to 80. So that's two, 3 generations spread. So I don't know. I saw what the CDC said, that there are 2 different strains that they have identified, but that's kind of normal. I mean, we get influenza A and influenza B each year, which would make sense that if this was sent from China, it's had a time all viruses mutate. So it wouldn't surprise me that what we're getting here in the United States is a mutated version of what was in Wuhan.
Now, that's another thing. There were so many deaths in Wuhan, and we can't get any information at all out of China anymore. There's absolutely nothing coming out, but I have grave fears for Wuhan. I don't know if, it seems like there may be very few people left alive in there from some of the stories I'm hearing, but there's no way to tell. And then the deaths in Italy and Iran. I'm just wondering what could possibly be going on there, where the death rate is so extremely high compared to some of the other areas.
Lynn and I watched that movie Contagion, with Matt Damon, Larry Fishburne last night, because go back and watch that. The virus started in Wuhan, Hong Kong, and this is 2011, right? But
I've actually never seen that one.
You got to see it. It's on Netflix or whatever, but watch it. And her and I were taking notes, and we're going, damn. I mean, it's, if you hear today what the CDC and the doctors and everyone are saying, it's like they're reading the script from Contagion. So was that a warning? Was that, how we're actually seeing now? Remember, that virus, by the way, killed within 24 hours. This one here takes 3 days, apparently. And apparently it's not a fun death. They're saying that those patients that have been infected, they can be reinfected. And they're finding that marker I was telling you about, that the 20-somethings that basically don't show any symptomology, that there is lung damage that this virus leaves, and that's what they're calling the marker. Is this something that triggers when they become 50 or 60 years old?
Very interesting. Now, I just want to go back for a second to the increased death rate in Italy, um, and especially in Ground Zero in China. It just seems especially virulent in those areas, and I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts on just those concentrated areas, why it's so high.
I'd love to find out, because how is this being, contracted in Italy, in the way, in their hot pockets that they have, and that's what you're going to have in every part of the virus. You won't have a broad contamination, but you're going to have flare-ups. Something's up. I mean, again, I don't think this is the big event, but this is one to weaken the patient. And I think that there is some. The one in Iran, I think that one has been deliberately altered. I mean, that one's killing those people over there very quickly.
Yeah, yeah, it is. I mean, and I think overnight they had 300 and something deaths in Italy. It just seems outrageous. So I'm just wondering if there's something different going on in certain areas that could be, killing them faster. I don't know.
Here's a conspiracy for you, Chris. So you got Biden and Sanders, right, who are fighting this thing out. What if they both get infected? You're going to suspend the elections for 2020. And it gets weirder after that. I mean, there's so much into play, because we're seeing it happen now. You almost have to stay on top of this hour by hour to see which state is now instituting curfews, and the death counts. And why doesn't West Virginia have any cases? That's weird.
Yeah, it is. Now, I was also thinking about our economy and the workforce and how this is going to pan out after everything's over, if it ends anytime in the near future. How is the workforce going to respond? How are companies going to respond for their employees? How is the economy going to ever recover from this? Is our government even moving to take measures to combat what could possibly happen after this? It's going to be a crash and burn. So what are we going to do to recover?
I don't, there's a book out there called 1 Second After. It's the hypothetical book on what happened 1 second after the bombs had dropped. The other aspect is that we're 3 meals away from anarchy. And this is what's my big concern. I mean, you've got people in the inner cities that life doesn't mean too much to them already. And now you're going to make it basically a Hunger's game scenario. This is going to become the scavenger hunt of all time. I mean, so, you can't get these anymore. This is the N95, but they're now using the mask to rob people. There are reports of houses being broke into, and this has not even begun yet.
That's the worst part of everything, I believe, is the people's panic and reaction, and the nature of panicky people and what comes with fear. It causes death, it causes destruction, and that is what I fear is going to be the worst of everything, because especially here in America, this is unprecedented. We have never faced anything like this in our lifetime, and we don't know how it's all going to pan out. And for the people who haven't prepared and who still are denying everything, they're going to get the worst of it.
They'll be the first ones to start going out rioting, because they're going to say they have a right to be fed, and that you don't have a right to have stockpiles. And that's how it works. And I wish they would just realize, use common sense, a little
Well,
bit.
yeah, a little bit. Let's take the last half of the show to let's offer some hope for people. What can they do during these times? Any solutions and any ideas on what can we do as a community during this time to kind of come together and get some ideas and education. What are your thoughts first?
First of all, gardening. Everyone can have a garden. I don't care if you live in a high rise or if you live with a house. We should all either do, bucket type gardens. You can do trellis. These don't require a lot of investment. The one thing I would tell you is get non-GMO seeds. They're a little bit more expensive, but that allows you to have a food source. The other thing is, while it's still cheap, pinto beans. We have 100 pounds and they're divided up to help our family. We have elderly neighbors that we help. And, a pound of pinto beans can feed a person for 2 to 3 days. And these are the common sense things that we can all do. I tell people right now, be prepared for potential interruptions to power, water. We should all have at least some sort of potable water. I think that is very common sense. Most people don't think about that. It's like,
Now,
well,
when it comes to the seeds, I'm just wondering, where would be the best place for people to get these? If we have to order them, shipping may be interrupted sometime soon. I'm sure we have, plenty of local places that
nurseries, local nurseries.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. We have 2 of them around here, and they specialize in what they call Genesis seeds. So, or heirloom is another word that you'll see used. But that's what I tell people to do. You don't need to get panicky about this. Um, you know, Listen, they did quite well with this. Our great grandparents through the Great Depression, they were a little hardier than what we are today. But you know, my brother is not my enemy, and it's not a competition that they may eat more than me. That shouldn't be entering into the equation.
Yeah, and people are going to have to use, especially the younger generation is going to have to use to no social media, no electronics, no
Oh,
TV, none of that. I mean,
how's that going to work out, Chris?
yeah, yeah. I mean, if things get to where they were thinking, that could be a reality.
Yeah, and it could very well be a reality. But I tell you, let me get back on now as a country. We are a resilient country. I mean, it may be a shock, whatever they have in store for us, but we've shown in the past. I grew up in Texas, and the Southerners, they're a hardy bunch. And the folks that live up in the Northeast, they'll tell you that they're just as hard to the soul as the rest of us. I think that there's always going to be the bad apples, but I think good people will find good people.
Yeah,
And if
I feel really good about the area I'm in. I'm in South Louisiana. I'm south of New Orleans. We are about 60 miles away from major city, and we're in the swamps. But our community, there's a lot of guns. We take care of our own. We take care of everyone in the community down here, and I think I'm in a really safe spot to be, unless there's a pole shift. But we'll worry about that later.
Yeah, that's another thing over there. I had a client, Oceaneering, which was down in Morgan City.
It's right
So
near me.
yeah, I drove from New Orleans down to that was one of the freakiest drives, I have to tell you, Chris, because you're literally got swamp on both sides. But yeah, that's why we've never been invaded. The Russians found that out. The Chinese know it. The UN knows it. Americans have too many guns. and that's the one thing. And it's interesting. I get this thing from gun activists. Anyway, more guns are being sold right now and ammunition than even during the Obama administration. So
Yeah. And
Yeah.
something else I'd recommend probably right now, get to know your neighbors, become friends with them, form a community. Don't be isolated. And well, I know we have to be isolated right now, but when it comes down to it, I think we need a sense of community. We need to start forming our own little communities, especially during this time. We need to get to know each other.
And that's what it is. It's really, I advocate favor. Always speak favor over yourself, over your neighbor, and those around you, because there's really no need to get into this competition. This is what I see. It builds up the anxiety. My neighbors and I, we talk, and we're all aware of what's going on, but we know this, that if they ever needed and were in a jam, not only myself, but the 5 other houses around here would be right there.
So what else can we do? We're not we're gonna be cooped up for a while. People are gonna be scared. You mentioned in our email meditation.
Meditation.
Now, for me, that's something that's difficult for me personally because my mind it moves 1,000 miles an hour. Every time I try and meditate, I end up thinking about a cat on a tricycle or something, and it doesn't work. But talk about that. If for people that can do it and it's easy for them.
Yeah, I mean, I've been at something I've done all my life. I learned about transcendental meditation back in 1970, but it does work medically. We know it works, and I just tell people that if you feel yourself getting hyped up, that anxious feeling, do some simple breathing exercises. For instance, we do what you can go, hold 10 seconds, breathe out. You do that about 10 times, you will lower your blood pressure. You'll oxygenate your blood, which then heightens all your immune system. And it is a very relaxing thing because this stuff is contagion. Um, I read this article today how the psychologist was saying the fear contagion is more contagious than any COVID or influenza. And I could do like this, and someone will eventually be doing the same thing. And this is the psychology we have to understand. And so my whole point, good mental health, man, don't get depressed about this. Don't get down. Listen, I tell people this, take a break from the internet. It'll drive you crazy. Learn to read again. I have a great, for my reading pleasure, I want to find about Anunnaki. I want to find out who these first pharaohs are. And these are the stories that my wife and I talk about. And because it helps us basically kind of depressurize. And in her case, she's in a extremely high pressured position now.
Yes, I can imagine. And that's something that I'm looking forward to doing now, since I'm pretty sure I won't be working at a day job pretty soon.
How is it in
Uh,
your area? Are you
uh,
starting to see things
oh,
retract?
yes, definitely. With the schools are shut down already. We have a few businesses shutting down. I'm pretty sure my business is going to shut down. It's Things are tightening up pretty good. Yeah,
So you
definitely.
know what Saturday was yesterday. I can tell you, you will be getting every American that's going to get laid off. Your employer has already, they'll get their instructions tomorrow. It's already going out. You will be paid for the next 2 to 4 weeks, Chris.
Right.
Now you may have no place to spend the money, but
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
but
But
that is, and go ahead.
no, I was just going to say something that I'm going to be wanting to do while I have this time is just bringing together researchers of all sorts and
Yeah.
not talk about this all the time, but we're gonna get into different topics. We're gonna reveal our history. We're gonna talk about paranormal. We're gonna talk about consciousness. I'm gonna have shows to get people's mind off of things, as well as keep them informed as to what's going on. But I think right now is a good time to have people learn about things that that are hidden. And my
Yeah.
show, it's always done that, but I'm gonna try and bring that out even more and bring those communities together, because I think that's a lot is what is missing in the UFO paranormal consciousness community, is a willingness for everybody to work together, because it is connected in more ways than we think. And I'm looking forward to delving into that a little bit more.
I've seen an amazing effect of what's going on. There is this awareness. You wouldn't call it an awakening, but there's a heightening awareness I'm seeing, and there's a lot of people. Chris, you're spot on. We're reading over on my channel the life and times of the teaching of the Far East Masters, and it's all about here getting this under control. And when this is under control, you won't have to panic. There is something that the universe provides. It's the strangest thing, but it works. And I
Definitely.
always and I always say that if the aliens are out there, they have to be watching what's going on here. I mean, someone asked me the other day, do you think that this is potentially alien influenced?
Now, yeah, let's okay. So if we're gonna go down the alien road, I'm wondering where the Galactic Federation is to save our asses right now. You know, as you
Yeah, where
hear
are
all
the
this.
arcs?
I've had plenty of guests on that claim that the Galactic Federation is, they're here, they're watching us, and they're going to protect us from anything. I'm wondering, where are these aliens right now? But there's also the prime directive theory that they can't interfere. But there's with the aliens, I've come to the realization that it's much larger than we could ever realize. It's more consciousness based than anything. It's more interdimensional. I'm not sure these fellas are coming across galaxies to see us. I think maybe they may be just on the other side of the electromagnetic spectrum. I think these are a lot of energy beings. I think it's all sorts. I think you can't put a label on aliens.
Yeah.
It's angels, it's demons, it's fairies, it's everything. And it's all connected. And an angel is an alien. That's what I believe.
Well, if it ain't human, it's an alien. That's the. I don't get scared of the ghost stories or demons, what have you, because I learned a long time ago. I question them, going, all right, so are you human or you're not? Well, if you're not human, then what the hell are you here for? You know, it's like, hey, you want a piece of me? But seriously, I think, and this is just me, our technology is getting better, and we're being able now to record spirits. Our technology can now show if a spirit entity is in your room. They can actually outline where it's standing, where it's sitting. And I wonder, Chris, that is the opening, the veil opening, where I'm convinced that we are coexisting within many different worlds. And when we die, I call it when we get born, we're going to be somewhere. And it seems like a lot of spirits are left here. You know what I'm saying? And
There's something going on right now. I
yeah,
agree. It's part of this whole shift. It's a shift in our consciousness. I think it's an upgrade in our DNA at this time. I think it has a lot to do with going on with the sun. Um, I think it's a cycle that we're kind of being upgraded right now. Everybody's kind of waking up. The biggest sign for me was when my dad starts listening to my show and asking me questions, and he's all prepped up right now. So and they're in their 80s, and it's like, wow, there's something going on. People are there's a massive shift in consciousness right now, and I think that's this time is it it's all happening for a reason.
well, look about this. Let's get in the esoteric if you just for a second. This is very strange in many ways because if you look at this, this is the highest holy days for Christendom. And now Easter is canceled. This whole thing in the United States started right after Ash Wednesday. And a lot of people are saying, well, there's something else going on here. I mean, we're seeing the largest exodus from organized Christianity. The United States is becoming more agnostic than aligned with a particular religious belief. There is something in the spiritual realm that is really afoot here.
I have to agree. And I think it's all coinciding at the perfect time. I've also had quite a few of my friends talk about paranormal experiences that they haven't had before, UFO experiences, contact experiences.
I had
Um,
one, Chris, 3 weeks ago. Wrote it
oh,
down.
really?
Did a whole show on it.
Oh, yeah. Well, tell us about it.
Well, it was 3 weeks ago Sunday, and it was sometime between 1 and 3 in the morning. But something came into our bedroom, and my wife was sleeping right next to me. My dog sensed it, and I went off on a little journey, and was very interesting. This being, and if people say, well, as I think about it in my mind's eye, very tall, kind of more of a white skin type being, and very interesting because that being told me, and it's on my video channel, that something was not going to happen, something is happening. And here we are 3 weeks later, and the whole world has changed.
That is very interesting. Yeah, we're getting a lot of. It seems that contact messages of some sort of urgency on the planet have ramped up as well.
Yeah.
You know, I mentioned that the Galactic Federation isn't helping us, but maybe in a way, some of them are. You know, they're giving us messages. It's possible that some of these beings are helping us to awaken in a way. I definitely think that our consciousness is connected to whatever this phenomenon is, you know,
That's what
because
the
that's
being
what I
told
have to
me.
say. It's a phenomenon. We don't know it. We can't pin it down.
Yeah. The being that told me, he said, this is how they reach out. Um, he's, I can't say it was he, it seemed male to me, but was saying that there has never been a time where more humans are more accepting of their message. And he told me that they're reaching people in many different ways, but the way they do it is through consciousness. And if you're not prepared consciously to receive a message, you won't get one.
That's something else that I believe people can take this time to do is activate their consciousness, expand it. Like you were saying with meditation, I would imagine that's a good start. You
Yeah.
know, to practice your powers of consciousness, because you know, ancient times it was all about the powers of consciousness. I believe that we used our consciousness for many things, for energy, even possibly to build. You know, this could
Well,
be a good
isn't consciousness what we hope is transmuted at death? I mean, that is it, right? We hope we carry our memories that identifies us. And it's like the debate, I used to be a Christian, I'm no longer, but what I have learned, the Christ consciousness is different than the Christ that is lifted up in organized religions. And it is a state of consciousness. And if I'm walking in the Christ consciousness, that means, Chris, I look at you as a friend, not as an enemy. You've never done me any harm. Why would I do you harm? And then that's why you and I can coexist with one another.
Definitely, and that's what we need more of right now
It
is
is.
a willingness to coexist, because we might be trapped with each other for a little while. So,
I saw an
and
older couple yesterday that I felt bad for them. I mean, they had this fear in their eyes. And I just went up to both of them. They didn't know who I was. Now, this is at 5:30 in the morning. Our grocery store was full at 5:30 in the morning. Typically, that's when I do shopping. There's no one in there. But anyway, I told them both, and I just looked them in the eye, and I said, it's going to be all right. I said, don't be afraid. And the elderly gentleman said, but we're alone. And I said, no, you're not. And gave them my email, and I said, you're not alone. You don't think like that. And maybe if each one of us would do a simple act of kindness, find someone who is of a senior citizen. You may not even know them. Knock on their door and let them know that they're not alone. Find out if you can give them a comforting word, because there's a lot of those. This is the one thing I have against Americans. We don't respect our elders. And the most valuable thing we can do for our seniors, because if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't be living your life today. And this is our opportunity as a nation to make an example for the rest of the world to see, is to go out and help that person that lives next door to you or down the street. Sorry,
Definitely.
Chris.
And I was actually thinking on the other side, the children. This is going to be an extremely difficult time for children growing up
Yeah.
right now. I mean, they're so used to the plugged-in lifestyle. They have it so easy right now. Even I had it easy growing up. Everything, the instant information, the instant entertainment, that's what they are used to. That's their whole lives. And it could be just uprooted from them. And, not only that, you have infants growing up right now. Will they be able to get the care they need in the upcoming months? The elderly, the sick, the people who need medical attention, they need to be in these hospitals that are going to be overcrowded with some of these coronavirus patients. It's something that people don't think of. But yeah, the younger folks are going to have a very difficult, trying times in the future.
Well, isn't this a great opportunity for them, though, to really learn what it really means to be of service? Um, Maybe this is an idea. In fact, I'm going to write my congressman about this. We have the Job Corps. We have a number of youth organizations. This is a great time for them to come together and really make a difference. I mean, it's not my generation, but that would be such an opportunity. And, you were wanting to say, well, what can we do? That is something that they can do, because they're great at organizing. They know social media. Could you imagine youth groups coming around at different high schools and junior highs, even elementaries, and taking care of their community? Wow, Chris, this is a great opportunity.
Definitely. And I would encourage, right now, if you're a parent, which I'm not, but I was married to a woman with 3 kids at a time, so I know about kids. So I would suggest teaching them basic life skills. If they don't
Yes.
have them already, if you never took the time to do this, teach them how to do the things that they're going to need without electricity, without these mobile phones, to basically take care of themselves and take care of our future.
When I was 9 years old, I was out in the garden the whole summer, weeding the garden. We got up every morning before the sunrise. We had chickens, we had rabbits, we had calves that we had to take care of. Um, I mean, I grew up on a farm, and it was hard work, but I wouldn't change it. Well, that's a good idea. You could really teach the youth as well how to grow food. Help them make, that's a great opportunity down where you are. I mean, it's already warm, right?
Yeah, it is. It's getting warm already.
Yeah, but it is. But think about that. They could start. Wow, I just thought of something for elementary schools. They could actually start community gardens.
Yeah, that would be an amazing
Wow.
thing.
I'm going to write that down, Chris. Fabulous show, sir.
Yeah,
Fabulous show. I love that.
we got to
Yeah.
keep these brainstorming sessions going.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, that
So
that is so.
no, go ahead. What were you saying?
No, it's the opportunities like this, that when we're faced with uncertainties, that things we can't control, that's when things begin to spiral out of control. Many times it's something just simply like this. Well, I can get some dirt. I can get some seeds. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
in closing tonight, what do you think is some of the most important message we can get to people? I think right now, preparing, it's almost the time has come and gone pretty much. If you can go out, get supplies, get what you can, because even if you think it's fake, it's not. This is really happening. We are going to be shut down for a long period of time. I'm thinking it could be 2 months at a minimum, at a minimum. I think that you need to prepare spiritually. You need to prepare mentally. You need to get your kids ready. You need to take care of the old folks. Take care of your elderly folks. My folks are locked up right now. They are not coming out of the house. I am getting them supplies. I'm leaving it on
Good.
the porch, and they're spraying it down with sanitizer just to
Good
be
idea.
safe.
Yeah.
If everybody could just take care of the older generation like that, and just the little things, take care of each other right now, look out for each other, don't spread misinformation, don't spread information if you don't know if it's true. You shouldn't
Don't say it.
probably go and Facebook and post it all across social media. That's what's causing a lot of the mass panic right now, is the social media, Facebook, people posting crap that's not true, that they don't know. I think that's some of my best advice that I can give at this point. So what about you?
I just add, be prepared. Listen, there is going to be some shocks coming. Just be prepared. I don't know what they are. We got ideas, but the announcements are coming from, be prepared. Be prepared for a shutdown, and understand that when things start getting back to normal, you're right, Chris. It's not going to happen like this. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take weeks, if not months, to get this machine going again. We're going to have to be patient. We're going to have to show extreme um, love for one another. And I think we can do that. I really do.
I agree. And in the coming weeks and months, I'd like to get together with you and some other researchers, do some group shows, get some people's hopes up, and you know, keep getting the information out there. And Wayne, thank you so much for coming on again tonight.
Thank you, Chris.
Fantastic show, and we'll do it again soon, definitely.
Thank you, my friend. All the best to you.
Yes, take care. Be safe.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.